It has been almost a year since our last shop update, where we explained some of the things that we wanted to do, some of our goals, some of our struggles, what the shop looked like, the kind of mess we were working through, and so much has happened since then. It's been almost a year. And we bought like 30% of the MotorMythbusters production facility. We spent probably more than we should have on shop equipment, and we got some sanders, we got some bandsaws over there, a lathe, a combination mill lathe, so much stuff. And let's go through it. I guess first things first, this toolbox, it's not a name brand or anything. I don't even know what brand it is because they stripped all the labels off because they record a show, right? It is a lot larger than what I had before, and there it is. Let's check out some of the tools. Now this is a compressor we picked up. It did not come from the same lot at an auction where we bought the rest of the stuff that I'm about to show you. But my dad found a nice listing for this compressor. It's a 5 horsepower, 2-stage compressor, and it runs on a 3-phase AC motor, which we don't have 3-phase in the shop. And we needed this box in order to hook it up. It's a digital phase shifter. We're getting the full horsepower out of the motor, and it's obviously more energy efficient than a single phase design. Let me show you this too. Right here is the storage rack that my dad just finished yesterday actually. These are the nuts and bolts that we picked up from the auction, and he modified the lockers in order to put them in there. These two lockers were combined on the inside, but we had to take the doors off in order for them to fit, because as you can see, they stick out a little bit, but I think they look nice and professional, and they're all full. They're quite heavy. I think this was a good purchase. They came at a little bit of a cost, but all in all, I think we spent maybe $300 on all of these full boxes together, which is probably what the drawers themselves are worth. Flammable storage cabinet. These things go for like $2,000 each. We have 2 of them here, and I think we paid $700 between the 2. So we got 2 cabinets for less than half of what one cost. I will probably include a link to the auction site in the description of this video, because you can save so much money if you know what you're looking for and you're on the site all the time kind of checking out the deals that they have. Check out the pallet racks. So these didn't come from the Mythbusters auction, but they came from a different auction. Nonetheless, we put them up. If you guys check out my Instagram, you can see the reel of me and my dad unloading these from the trailer, and it's quite entertaining. We had a little bit of a redneck epiphany to get this done. So we're in the process of filling up these racks. We have electric winches at the top to bring the items up, which are too heavy to walk up the ladder with, obviously. That wouldn't be too easy if you're trying to walk up the ladder with 300 pounds worth of equipment or car parts. So let's move on to the swamp cooler, which is something that I touched on in the last video, if you'll remember. The swamp cooler used to be right there in that window. That is still open. We're going to use that as ventilation for our parts cleaner, if you'll remember from the last shop update. And now the swamp cooler is fully set up and operational right there. Some of the work that we did electrically is obscured behind the cabinet, but we ran some power to it, we ran some water to it, and it works way better right here than it worked on the other side of the shop. It's blowing on the short end of the shop rather than the long end across the entire length, and it works incredibly well. We plan to have some sinks in here, a place to wash our hands, at least 1 sink, maybe even 2, depending on how we're able to set up the water and the draining system. Somewhere along this wall, maybe this bay, maybe this one, maybe over there. Have yet to find out. It's going to depend on where we're able to put that drain. But that will really increase our productivity as well, because we won't have to work with dirty hands constantly and decide between working with dirty hands or walking all the way through the patio and washing our hands in the sink that's on the other side of the house there. So that would be awesome if we can get some sink set up in here. We have, this looks all haphazard right now. We needed to put it on this cart in order to give ourselves a little bit of extra length so that we were able to do the welding that we needed to do on our electric winches. And we still have to do them on the other side. That's why it's still up on this contraption. But we have our ESOB MIGmaster 250. I think it's from the 90s. This thing works great. It's so much better than the smaller welder that we were using before, which is this little guy. I think we're undecided on whether we're gonna sell this or maybe put some smaller wire in it for sheet metal, stuff like that. But this is such a necessary upgrade. We started to do a lot of welding and we were limited by the resolution that the dial gave us in the last welder. So this thing is incredible. It can weld much thicker material than the last one, and we have more resolution in the dial. We have our fine adjustment here and our coarse adjustment here. So much adjustment, you can really get it dialed in. And then our wire speed up here, you can really get it dialed in to where you need it to be. We got a dirt bike. Yeah, sorry for the mess. Again, it's still a work in progress. We actually made it worse by buying a whole bunch more stuff. But once everything goes in where it needs to go, you can still see we have quite a bit of empty shelf space left on our pallet racks. So once that's all full, we'll be able to get the shop all nice and clean and workable. But this guy is fun for all of the bits in between. Little Honda 250 two-stroke, purrs like a kitten. Check out the massive welding tables. We got both of these tables for, I don't know, like 200 bucks for both of them. Such an incredible deal you can get on that auction site sometimes, if you're vigilant enough. These things are like 700 pounds each. They have 3/8 steel sheet on top of them. And the whole entire thing is made up of, I don't know, that's maybe 1.5 inch square stock all the way around, and then it has a floor with 4 wheels on each side. So it's able to roll quite nicely, carry a lot of weight, and it's hefty enough that you can really hit something with a hammer if you're clamping it down on the vise, and you are not going to budge this table. A group of pegboard. We only have one up at this moment, but there will soon be more and more pegboard across this wall, which is where we do most of our fabrication in the shop. Here's the rest of them. It'll just give our tools a home, a place to go, and make it a lot more clean and presentable and give us a better workflow overall. This is probably the most organized area in the shop right now, which is ironic because this is the scrap area, or really the material storage area, as I like to call it. It's good to have it. I mean, you need scrap, and it's good to have it organized so you don't have to go and dig through stuff and get all dirty and dusty and greasy when you're looking for a piece of material that you need to use. And then what you have right in front is the cage that we're going to install in the Camaro. We got a bandsaw. I had a bandsaw, but it was old, it needed wheels, it needed a blade, it needed some pretty good service, but this thing is operational, it works great, it cuts straight, it doesn't wander. Great bandsaw, it's a 14-inch, and yeah, we're already putting it to use, making all the other stuff we need in the shop. We have our combination mill lathe. There is a motor for each component, so you don't have to change any belts to go from the lathe to the mill or vice versa. Great unit. We haven't really used it a lot yet, but there's a lot of potential there. Everything does work. Seems to be a nice pickup. We have our vacuum system. So once we have this all set up, we'll be able to run hoses from the vacuum to various areas on this other equipment. We have, see a port here. We have a port on the back of our bandsaw where we can suck the dust out before it gets on the floor, hopefully keeping the shop quite a bit cleaner. A plasma cutter. We haven't used this at all yet, so we're hoping everything works properly. We got a little bit of consumables for it, and yeah, we do a lot of cutting. This should improve our workflow greatly. Oh, almost forgot. All of our LEDs are in, so we have a nice bright white lighting to use. And we do have some more lights we're gonna need to install sort of under the shelves in various places to give us a little bit more visibility where we need it. But overall, having all this extra light saved us money on our electricity bill and also looks bright and brilliant and wonderful. This refrigerator, this was, so you can see how messy it is. Goodness gracious. We really got to finish this off, but you know, it's one piece at a time. You can only do one thing at a time, right? This was where we were planning on having our little break area with maybe a microwave on this table, the refrigerator, you know, some drinks, some cold stuff, have an operational freezer as well. But it's come to take up too much room. We have an enclosed patio just behind this door, which would be a much better place for the refrigerator and break area to go. So that's where this is gonna go, and we'll have more space for fabrication. Let's see, let's roll this guy out a little bit. Now this, the guys were making fun of me for buying this thing, but gee, I still think it's cool. It's a rolling chalkboard or steel board, whiteboard. So you have a whiteboard on one side. I admit it's a little bit hokey. It's just kind of screwed in there. The metal's rusty, the welds are showing. It's not really a final looking product. But what's cool is it still has some little scribbles from the show still on there, MotorMythbusters. So eventually those are gonna get erased so that we can actually use this for ourselves, but that's a kind of cool little novelty. And here is, this must have been an episode where they were driving the electric car through water. Here's all their little scribbles on here. And I'm curious if Tori ever sees this, if he can confirm whether he wrote any of this stuff himself. You guys got to check this out. Our cool little novelty piece that we got from the auction. We still have to find, we're trying to keep it safe for now because it'll just get shredded up if it stays on one of these tables. And then we're going to find a nice place to put it up when everything's said and done and all organized. But I think it's just a cool little takeaway from the fact, I mean, we got the stuff because we needed it, and it was a great auction for equipment and materials that we really needed for the shop. But just the fact that it, you know, came from Mythbusters is just really cool. So I wanted to commemorate it with this thing. This is the Camaro we picked up last year. I think it may have been in the video. Yes, it definitely was in the video last time. Still hasn't moved. It's been on the bottom of the to-do list, but we have a cage for it and we're ready to get this thing ready for circle track. This is what my dad's been working on. This was his 64 Chevelle from the past few years. It's all pretty much ready to go, ready to get sold. So I'll be able to inject some money into the next project and the next project and the next project and the next project. If you guys enjoy the content, I'd encourage you to please give me a thumbs up. It helps me spread out to more people, especially the more educational and informational content. But of course, if you like getting to know us, seeing how we work, seeing how we operate, there's this kind of stuff too. Also, if you're a racer, either professional or amateur, I do have a product that I want to show you. Check this out. This here is our homegrown stand racing race book. When I go online and look at setup sheets for race cars, I find myself overwhelmed at the amount of material and content that they try to put on one page. There is only so much you can measure at the track. So what I've done here is I've designed this to be useful to a person who's at the track. They want to take measurements of their car, take measurements of their driving. We have a corner analysis. We have only relevant information on the car page. And we also have some footnotes. These same 3 pages repeat through 72 pages of the book, resulting in a 24 event race book. This is available on Amazon if you search this query here, or if you go to standracing.com and check out our shop, you can also buy it from Amazon. And how could I forget the other car projects? Let's check out this thing. This is the car that I've been racing Spec Miata in for the past 3 years, and I'm getting out of Spec Miata now because I just want to go faster. Miatas are slow. I like fast cars. Let's look at this thing. So this is the car I built the cage in. It's great to drive. It handles well. It just doesn't have the power I'm looking for. Let's come around to this side. So the dream is to pop a Honda K-Series engine in this, but that's currently not in the budget. So we're gonna see what we can do. I wanna race this in endurance. So I'm gonna make a few cheap modifications to this. You'll see in the upcoming videos what we're able to do. And yeah, stay tuned on that because this guy is going to go through an operation and we'll see how to make this faster with very little money up front. So that's to come. And right behind it is my new little daily. I haven't started driving it daily yet because I'm still trying to get it past smog. But yeah, this thing is a clean little item. I got it on Facebook Marketplace. There's quite a bro tax on these days. It's desirable, and there's not a lot that are in good shape. As you can see, this one's pretty nice. Came with a salvage title, which isn't ideal, but I think it's still worth it overall because it is a nice looking car. The car was left in the sun by the previous owner, so of course you have the notorious dash cracks, which instead of hiding, I decided to accentuate. The Japanese silver plate style dashboard. I think it's, I don't know. It's ugly, but you know, it's ugly because I made it ugly, okay? So I'm happy with it. And here's our upgraded press. We had to put a brand new ram on there because the bottom was kind of cracked and leaking. So we bought a new ram, which had to have an external pressure gauge hooked up to it because it didn't have a onboard one like the last one did. The last one had a pressure gauge growing right out of the front of it here. But we have this hooked up. It seems to be in a good position, and at 80,000 pounds capacity, there is not much we can't press out with this guy. So I have a bushing kit ready to install for this, and pretty soon, possibly even the next video, you will see us putting this thing into action to install those bushings. I honestly don't think I've even shown you half of the stuff that we got from this auction. We bought so much stuff. There's just boxes of stuff underneath the tables. It'd take me forever to go through each item, and that'd be kind of boring anyways. But I just wanted to give you guys an update. The shop is still in disarray, but it's a work in progress. You gotta trust the process. I gotta trust the process, and we're just chipping away at it. So this is a little bit of an update for you. I also wanted to get myself excited about the progress that we are making and kind of what's ahead of us in the future. So once this, and we're still working in here at the same time that we're cleaning, so it's kind of one step forward, one step back in a way of speaking, but there's a lot of potential here. So I'm gonna keep you guys up to date as we go. I'm gonna make a little bit of educational content, a little bit of vlog content, and keep you involved in the story and along for the ride. So if you enjoyed the video, stay tuned for the next one.